French concert pianist Pascal Rogé came to prominence in 1971 when he jointly won the Long Thibaut International Piano Competition, and he's been playing to great acclaim ever since. He's particularly noted for his interpretation of the French repertoire, and I'm so pleased he's joined me here today at Jaques Samuel Pianos for a classical conversation. Welcome.
Good morning.
Lovely to chat to you today.
Yeah, I love the idea.
And I wanted to start by asking all about your musical education, how old you were when you started, what the catalyst was, whether you come from a musical family.
Yes. I was born with music, so it's very easy for me. It was the most natural thing in the world to play music. So, my mother is a pianist, organist, my grandfather was a violinist, my grandmother was a pianist. Wow. So it's all about music in my family. So it was obvious for me to touch all the instruments that were around, and my mother just put my fingers in the right place. And
you started very young, and
3 years old.
Oh God.
But you know, because I wanted to bang on the piano like any child, and my mother, as a piano teacher, said, well, instead of banging anywhere, just put your fingers in the right keys. And apparently, you know, I was kind of gifted, and it was an immediate attraction. So I couldn't get away from the piano. It was my best toy, and ever since it's been my best friend. It's a long love story.
And so which teachers then do you think were most crucial in your development as a pianist?
Well, obviously my mother, because she was my first and only teacher for 6 years.
Right.
And then I must say I was really lucky with my teachers. I mean, I don't have any complaints. On the contrary, I mean, I admire them and very thankful to all of them. So from my mother, I went to her teacher, which was Lucette Descaves at the Paris Conservatory. At that time, she was teacher at the Paris Conservatory, and obviously I went to her class because my mother had been one of her students many years before. So that was my second teacher. Then Lucette Descaves had assistant, Louise Clavius-Marius, who's not very well known, but she was a genius. She was really somebody helped me a lot, and has a fabulous knowledge about piano technique, about how to practice, how to relax, all the things that are hidden behind the glamorous piano playing. And then I was fortunate to meet Julius Katchen when I was 17, and he was my, I don't really consider him as a teacher, but as a mentor, as somebody who really opened so many things, so many doors, so many perspectives for the last 3 years of his life until he died in '69. And I think, that was it. That was the end of my teachers, but they were all very influential. I don't mention Marguerite Long as a teacher because I played only 3-4 times for her. I was very young and she was very old, but it's still an amazing memory today to think of her, a young boy playing in front of somebody who was so close to Debussy, Fauré,
yes.
And I heard her telling me, you know, here Debussy told me, and that's, you never forget. No. But I was not really a student of her, but I met her, and I think that was enough to really make her special. Same thing with Nadia Boulanger. I was not a regular student of her, but I was fortunate to know her and to meet her many times, and she also was an advisor, someone that I could talk to, ask questions. I mean, that was a privilege.
Yes. So how did you develop your technique? What did you work at?
Well, that was never really my concern. I mean, that sounds very pretentious, but I think my teachers were my mother first was very clever to always make the technique part of the musical meaning. I mean, there was never something, and you have to work. Of course, I did scales and things like that, but it was never boring. It was never an obligation. I knew somewhere that it was useful, and I almost enjoyed it. I mean, it was not a bad memory. Later on, the conservatory, my teachers also told me try to separate technique from interpretation. So it means that you have to build your technique and then you'll be able to play anything. Don't try to, for instance, she always said Chopin studies are not for technique, they are for playing. So don't use them as an étude, but use more basic things like Czerny, Anon, Pichna, all those boring composers. I mean, not composers, but technicians, piano technicians. But they believed in that. Doing a lot of, like dancers would do a lot of exercise before dancing. I don't believe that you should mix technique and interpretation. It's two different things. So I always followed that principle, and I think it worked pretty well.
So you won the Long Thibaud International Competition. What impact did this have on your career? Did it change it completely, or no? No, didn't take off immediately afterwards. Or?
I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, being French and winning the most important piano competitions in France. First, it came after I had already my first recording with Decca. I had already my first recital in Paris and in London. So I sort of, I didn't need it. I was a little bit pushed by my teachers at the conservatory. They wanted to, at least if we could have a French winning that competition. So I did it, but really reluctantly. And apart from maybe a couple of concerts right after the say, I mean, it's nothing comparing to first recording with Decca or first recital in London. I mean, I don't believe in competition, and I must say I have pretty bad memories of that competition, of any competition, but this one in particular, because for the first time, I was already, even if I didn't play a match, but I had already a feeling of being on stage is to communicate, is to express yourself, and suddenly I was on stage to win. And that's not right. So I thought I was in the wrong place. Why do I have to play better than this was said? I could feel that it was not the meaning of music. So yeah, I did it, I won it. But that's it.
You're known for your interpretation of French music, and you've recorded a complete solo of Ravel, Poulenc, Satie. What is it about the French repertoire that you love so much? I mean, obviously you're French, but there must be something in the music that just draws you back all the time.
Yeah, I think so, because I learned that repertoire early, of course, with my teachers, because they were close to that repertoire. But then when I started my career, I used to play what every young pianist should play. I mean, Liszt, Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, Chopin, whatever. I mean, I was really interested to play anything. Until I discovered that maybe I should find my own language, my own, what do I do best? And I remember funny enough, a recital by Arthur Rubinstein. He was playing an old Chopin program. And I was absolutely amazed, because I thought it's not Rubinstein, it's not Chopin, it's just such a natural way of playing. He's born with this music, it's his language. Nobody plays Chopin better than him, because he doesn't have to play it, he just speaks the music. And I thought there must be music I could play that way. And with the years I discovered that it was the French repertoire. It's logic, because it's my language. I was born with it, and all what my teachers told me about Marguerite Long, said Descartes, those people who were so close to those composers, I think that was an influence somehow. It's not the fact that I was born in France, but the fact that I had around me people that were so close to that music, and they made me discover things that perhaps I wouldn't never discovered without them. And the more I play, and the more I discover that, yeah, this is the way I can really express myself. I think it's really like foreign languages. You can learn as many languages as you want, but there will still be a mother tongue. And my mother tongue is French music. So
if you had to choose one French composer, who would you choose? Is it possible to say?
It's almost impossible. Because I love all of them, and for different reasons, and it would be unfair to say one. Of course, the first one, if I have to, be Debussy, because he's the greatest, and he brought a new language, and he had so many ideas about colors, sounds.
Yes.
He's an innovator, and he's it's maybe the. But funny enough, I remember when I was very young, I was in love with Ravel. I think Ravel was my first French composer, and I remember saying that to my harmony teacher. I said, "Oh, Ravel." He said, "Yeah, I know, but later on you will discover that Debussy is more important." And it's true. I understand what he meant. At that time, I disagree. I understand that, of course, Debussy is more important. But every time I play a Ravel concerto, it's still magic. So I think those sort of memories from childhood, I think they stay forever. And even after, if you can analyze or think differently, the first love, first music love was Ravel. I mean, it's still maybe the closest.
Yeah. Which other composers do you love to play, going away from French style?
To play, not too many. I said to listen to, of course, but to play, Mozart, because I think he is above all of the composers. You don't have to be French or German or anything to play it, you just have to be genuinely inspired. It's maybe the most difficult composer to play, but one cannot not enjoy playing Mozart. But apart from here, I must say that I don't feel like I can play anything, but it's not as close to my heart that those composers. And with my experience, my age, my concert life, I can choose. That's the privilege of age. You can say no. I mean, it's very rare nowadays that people offer me to play a Tchaikovsky concerto, but I can say no. When you're 20, 30, you have to do everything because you have to establish yourself. But now I have that privilege to say, no, I'm not interested. And I think most of the time people know what I'm good at. And I'm glad that I chose to be restricted in my repertoire. And I remember when I started that French direction, many people were asking me, is it your record company, or have you been forced to do this? I said, no, it's my choice. And now I think that they understood that it was really my choice. But I'm very proud to have found music I can really communicate and touch people in a very special way. I always quote what Glenn Gould said, and he said, if you're not convinced that you play this piece better or different than anybody else, don't play it. And it's a bit extreme, like everything he said, but it's true. And you really have to, in order to play something personally, you have to be convinced that, yeah, I'm unique in playing that. It sounds pretentious, but that's the only way to be unique. And if you're on stage, you have to be unique. Otherwise, I mean, there's so many good pianists, and that's the difference. If you don't have that particular language or touch or something that makes you different.
Do you have a particular practice regime?
I have to cope with traveling life.
Yes, that's why I asked, yes.
It's not always easy. I sometimes envy a violinist or a cellist to be able to carry his own instrument. No, I mean, I practice as much as I can wherever there's a piano, here, in the studio, or friend's house, or concert hall, or dressing rooms. Of course, at home I have my own piano and stuff, but I'm almost never at home, so I really have to cope with whatever piano I can find.
Do you play a lot of chamber music, particularly two piano works?
Yes.
Your wife, Amy. How did this come about, and what repertoire do you love to play?
Well, it came when we met, almost 10 years ago now, and that's a repertoire I almost never played before. And I was suddenly attracted to sharing the instrument with not somebody, but with someone that really has the same touch, the same feeling, the same view about music, and it was completely new. I mean, I already played maybe a couple of times with another pianist, but it was like, trying to make things together, but there was no intimate connection. And I think to play to piano, and especially four hands, you really need to be very intimate. So it's a wonderful new experience, and we love traveling together, playing together, and again, French repertoire, and we recorded even some transcriptions. We did our own transcription of La Mer, Debussy, and Yeah, there's such a repertoire that I've never heard of before, so I'm very happy. And we do recitals, we say 2 hands, 4 hands, which gives another approach to the piano, because then people realize how different it is when the piano is played by one person with 4 hands. It sounds differently, but at the same time it's the same instrument. So I always liked sharing music with other musicians. Before I did a lot of German music with strings or wind stuff, but now with Ami it becomes even more closer and more personal.
What are your plans for the future?
Oh, keep going the life I have. I'm enjoying it so much, so it means keep playing, keep discovering new cities, new worlds, new culture. We are learning at the moment the Rite of Spring.
Right.
So that's a big project. We're recording it, and I have some. It's more about, I'm going to stay in that repertoire. I'm not going to tell you, oh, finally I'm going to do the complete Beethoven sonata. No, I'm still going to explore the French repertoire and extend it to maybe contemporary music. We had an experience 2 years ago. We commissioned 2 piano concertos from an Australian composer. That was the first time ever that I premiered a piece that was never played, and it was so exciting to play music that nobody had played before. So I hope we can have more experiences like that. Yeah.
What does playing the piano mean to you?
Everything. So I don't know. I can't do anything else. It would have been very difficult if I hadn't been able to achieve a career, because as I said, from the age of 3, I played the piano. I never stopped. I never thought I could do anything else. I never wanted to do anything else, and I think it's the most beautiful profession, because it's doing what you love and sharing with the world, bringing emotions to people. I'm so privileged and sharing that with my wife. I mean, it's an ideal life. So piano is everything.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Pleasure.